Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna get some thread. Ideally, you want to have a wax thread, but you can make your own wax thread with beeswax and thread. You want a thickish one just because you don't want it to fall apart.
Beeswax.
They know what bee. Um, so we're using, I think it's linen is traditional, but or sinew, you can also use that. Any thick thread that you then wax is fine. The reason we're waxing it is it helps it last longer. And so it'll be smoother when we're stitching. So I've gone with a lovely bright blue because I want you to be able to see it. You can go with whatever color you want.
So we're gonna pass threads
No.
around so you can pick a color.
And then what we're going to do is for people following online, you're going to want to do about 4 yards. Is it 4 yards?
My brain. Yes.
About 4 yards for here to arm lengths.
Fingertip to
thereabouts.
fingertip, arms outspread.
Yes.
Times two.
So I am just doing giant arm lengths because it's easier for me, but you can measure it out if you're at home and wish to. There, I will go over the way to add thread later. If you run out of it, ideally you don't want to, but for making really, really thick ones, you have to add thread unless you're completely insane. So I'm going to pause while we get everyone set up here. So the needle we're using is going to be a curved needle. Straight needles are also usable, but this will allow us to do some easier maneuverability. And what we're going to do is you're just going to throw it on. You want to pull it so your tail is long enough that it's not going to catch every time you stitch. And we're not going to tie a knot yet. I will go over the knot tying when we start sewing. So to sew your book, we're going to start with the cover page, the cover book, and your first signature. This is signature 1 for me. It can be any signature. So we're going to take it, line it up, kind of make sure that whatever's that you're if you have a top or a bottom, it's how you want it. Then you're going to take your needle and you're going to go through. Okay, there is no top or bottom for me. It's top or bottom. It doesn't matter. And fundamentally, it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to say the end hole. So one of the ends, whatever end you want, and you're going to go through it. You're going to pull it. And what you want to do is once you get through far enough. So we have really long, so you have to pull a while. You're not going to want to pull all the way through because we don't have a knot. We're just going to leave a little tail.
Through the paper first.
Yes, so we're going through the paper.
From the inside of the fold.
Yes. And then you're going to go through the matching hole in the board. And you're going to go through that.
From the back of the outside of the board?
Yes. I'm trying to show them. That's why I said I'm talking it through first. So front to back. And I did not make. And that might be a little harder depending on your hole making. So you're gonna pull. 1 second. There we go. We're gonna pull it through. I'm using my thumb to hold that so I don't go all the way through because that would be bad.
We don't the tail.
Yeah, to hold the tail. And then let's see if I can get this to show up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make a little loop around the thread we just used. So we have here. So looks like this. Mine's going up like this. And it's a little hard to see at this, which is why I'm making sure. And then we're gonna loop it. So Oof. That's not how you loop. There we go. So then we're gonna loop it like that. So. And I can come help. This is the first book, board, and signature are the hardest. So you're just making a loop.
Okay, I missed something.
It's okay. I will come through and help once I've gotten this recorded. And then you go back in to the hole that you first came out of. Ideally in the same spot. It's hard to do this and look at the camera to make sure. Ah. Ah, I've gotten it. Then you go back in, so it comes out. And you pull that through. And I'm going to pause the recording to help the people up. Okay. Then you tighten it up if you can, and you want to try to pull parallel to it. Like perpendicular, straight out. And it should look kind of like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go up or down, depending on how you're holding your book, to the next hole and do the exact same thing.
From the inside out.
So, I will show audience in a second. Yeah.
The first few stitches I found to be kind of tricky because papers wouldn't always align with the holes while I was flopping it around.
Yes.
It helps to have the holes lined up.
So it's going through the signature
Through the signature out.
from the outside of the book back in.
No, from the inside of the book to the outside.
Okay,
That is the inside of the book.
yeah.
It's coming back out.
No, you were doing it right. You're going
Inside,
from the
What you're doing
inside.
right
Yeah.
there, from the
what I'm
inside,
doing. All the
to
way
the
through
outside.
the
all the way
signature.
through the signature and.
Just the signature.
Just the signature.
Oh.
And then
Out.
that's what I was.
The
Then,
inside of the cover?
yes.
The outside of the cover.
From the outside to the inside of the cover. And
There.
ugh,
That's what I was asking. I'm on Neil. You were answering what I wasn't asking.
that.
Outside of the cover.
Eve. Making sure you don't tie it in a knot as you're pulling it through. And then make sure because we have the yarn going towards whatever hand this is. Towards the end that hasn't been sewn. And then you go around, and I'm gonna try to show the people at home a really good image of how that's kind of going. So like that. So you wanna you're just looping yourself through this little loop.
That bit of thread between the paper and the cover.
Yes, and you wanna make sure that the tail is towards the cover. Like that. And then you're gonna pull that back out, pull that through. And then you're gonna pull that, put that through the next. Put that back in.
Supposed back in from the outside to the inside of the signature,
Yes.
through the same hole we just came out of.
Mm-hmm. So what we're gonna do here is before going on to the next hole, we're going to tie a knot using the tail. Now my tail shrunk a lot. Oops. So to do this, I'm going to show you each step. You're gonna take the little, I'm not sure what it is. There we go. You're gonna take the loop. So it kind of looks like that. Basically, you're just tying a knot around the thread that you just
So
sewed.
having a bit of a longer tail helps to tie that.
Yeah, I meant to have a longer one than this, but I've done it with really small tails because
It
I don't
slips.
like, well, and I don't like using extra. So you just Because unfortunately, I can't show this on camera as I'm doing it. It's rather difficult. So, no, you can't. Okay, and I'm gonna show the camera what this is gonna look like. And then I'm gonna pull it tight there. So this is kind of how we're gonna tie the knot. That. We're just tying it.
Ah, okay.
That is okay. I can help. And so you're just gonna tie it as tight as you can get
So
it.
am I going outside the cover again? Around,
Yes.
so make a loop again.
Okay, and then once you've done that, you're probably going to want to go through and tighten you're gonna want to retighten up, retension your thing,
Right.
because
That last stitch on the cover.
yes, the last stitch you just did, because it probably loosened itself as you were doing it. So the way I do it is I use my needle to pull, because I like really tight tension, and then I
And
pull.
just keep going thusly for the entire first signature.
Yes, and then we just continue to repeat what we've done, except for the knot tying, all the way down. And then once we get down to the last signature, I will show you how to do that. Okay.
So how do you try this?
So on the last one, once you've gotten it to the very last step where you would normally go into the signature, you are not. What you're going to do after you finish pulling it tight is take the next signature that you have and go into the end hole of that one. That's the correct.
From the outside in. I meant.
Yes, I'm showing. So, this is not, well, they punched, are they? This one should be. Somehow mine got messed up, so I'm gonna grab the correct one. So you go through, trying not to stab yourself, unlike me. You go through this completely, the next signature you have. And pull tight. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go up to the next hole from in the new signature. Get you situated so I can show them. So we're gonna go to this hole. Right there, but I can't do that looking, so you're just going to, once you've gotten it attached. Ow,
So all you do is go through this hole?
Yep.
Okay.
once I've gotten it through,
Whoops.
and then what you do is you're gonna go between the signature and the book board. So I'm gonna
The
show,
first signature and the cover.
or the back, I don't, either one. So like that. So you're gonna go between them. I will show you.
I'm
You're not there
not
yet.
there yet,
Yeah.
so I'm not, I
Okay,
know
so
that you're
you
doing
go
it
from
for
the
camera.
inside out on the
Yes.
second hole.
So
That's all right?
Yep.
Okay.
inside out on the second. And then you go through the little area that you had previously, like that. And then,
So toward the first hole or the other way?
yes, we're just gonna keep going the same way.
So we're
So
talking about going that way now.
that, you can also do that, yeah.
Is that-
Do what now?
So we were going towards the right, or I was going towards the right because that's the way I'm oriented, so I'm just gonna keep going the way that I've been looping. So keep the
Should
loops
I-
the
should I
same
go through the
looping.
Cover though?
No, we do not go through the
We do
cover.
not Go through the cover at all on the last hole.
On the last hole, you do. Yes, So finish that, but we don't go back into the last, the
We don't go
signature.
into the signature.
You add a new
Go through the-
signature.
Not through the signature,
Yes.
through the cover, not
So.
through the signature.
Then you pull it back out. Assuming I haven't made a giant knotted mess.
No.
Which I think I have. So you get the little. That, and then what we do is we go back into the thing,
Second signature.
back in from where we came out. And then we go down a hole and repeat. So I'm gonna pause so I can show everyone a little more. So what you do, you go to the second, third hole in this case. Loop it. Pull it through.
There's a little tiny number in the top corner on the front of each of those.
I'm afraid that was not,
So,
yes, I can see the
So-
number, I can see the number now, but that's okay.
so
Yeah.
if it's like, so if it's not showing, look at it.
Yeah, I do see the number.
If you sort of, don't just sort of.
Number is either good enough or it's not.
And line
Just-
them up.
Yes,
Okay, they're
I
even, like,
understand that.
if they got me.
Now they're-
got
I
it.
understand,
Oh,
yes. but
Let's see,
You see.
like
the-
this one, see
it's
how
not
I
lined
just
up with
turned
the
it over
cover.
and the top one
You see
is
the-
ever so slightly.
Yeah, let me undo you.
So
Let's
they look
start
pretty
it right
lined
here.
up.
So you're gonna do this until you've gotten to the bottom.
Left-handed enough, I'm sorry. I'm very ambidextrous
Right.
with left-handed parents.
Once,
Everything I do is half right and half left.
Wouldn't it be easy just taking, doing this with the number?
so once you get to the very last hole, you're gonna do the same thing, but instead of going back into the second signature, you're gonna go into the third one. And then you're gonna continue until you get to the last two, and then we'll go over that. So I'm reiterating, once you get to the last hole of your second signature in this case, or whatever signature you happen to be on, you do the loop. But instead of going through the back in, you're gonna go into the next signature. So just finish the second one. For the third one, I would go into the third. So.
I'm gonna ask them.
Okay, so I am going to tell you all how, if you ran out of thread, none of us should, but if you ever do, or you're making a ridiculously thick book and you don't want to deal with that much thread, what you do is you're going to want to tie a knot on the inside, kind of like we just did like we did on the first signature to tie it. You just kind of, you would take it and tie a knot. Ideally, you kind of want it to be in the middle section because that'll be easier. If that makes sense.
So not
So-
on the outer edge of the book,
No.
but towards the center.
And you want to tie a knot on the inside. So you would tie, if one of these were a piece, you would just take it, tie it to itself, and then continue stitching. So you want the knot to be on the inside and
Toward the middle.
towards the middle, just so you don't have to deal with it.
And then
With
you tie
these,
your new one off to it then as well.
yes, well, you're tying it to itself.
You tie the old one to the new one.
Oh,
Yes, you just take your running out thread and your new thread, tie a knot, and then continue stitching and cut the tails, obviously. So that is how you would continue stitching for this specific type of book. So to stitch the last bit, you want to have one signature and your other board. And you want to have not gone in to your signature, your last signature that you stitched. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go through the board from the outside in, so. I can get a nice, there. So doing this backwards is a little hard, like that, and you're gonna go in. can't do holding it up without putting pressure on it. So. Okay, 1 second. Doing this backwards is a little hard. Okay,
So that last signature is in between, but not stitched yet.
it is not stitched yet. And then you're gonna loop that like we were doing on the first. You're gonna make that little loop like that. You're gonna loop it. Ow, stab yourself apparently.
Yes.
Great at that.
So we're looping between what?
I just showed everyone. The thing you just made.
Between the board and the last signature that you did.
No,
You're looping around the stitching on the spine, right? Like down here.
no, you're just
Stitching
doing
board that you
the,
just
the,
made.
what you just made, you just make a little loop. You've already done that. You're good.
Right.
Okay, and then I have to undo this so I can show people what I was doing. Somehow I. Aha, got it. And then, once you're done that, you're going to put it, you're gonna put it in the hole of the signature that hasn't been attached. And go through. Without stabbing yourself, hopefully.
I left mine loose.
And what you'll probably want to do after this is go through and tighten it, because it's gonna be pretty loose as you're making it.
Then you're gonna do the loop around like you did.
Last signature,
You're
yes.
gonna do
So
this side
down
here.
the other end as before.
Kind of, there's
Came out of the
steps.
stack.
1 sec.
I went through the board. I did my loop, I kind of left mine loose. Down into the little loop first and then down into. Now you're gonna come to the outside of the signature.
down into the signature.
So you did that. So now you're
It's a
gonna.
little fiddly because you're trying to hold it all together.
Yes, it
It's right
is
here.
kind of difficult to
And then
do.
once you went round.
If I wasn't trying to do it, I would recommend just keeping- keeping the board on like a table is gonna make it easier if you're doing it. But as I'm trying to show people, it's a little more difficult for me. Keeping it on the table allows you to tighten it better. As opposed to what this thing is doing, which is not. Okay, so. Once you've gotten back through, you're gonna go to the next hole, just down one. Out. Okay, I'm gonna have anyone online ignoring my tension because I'm holding it up at an angle that you should not be holding it. So you're gonna come back out to the signature you're working with. Pull it through, not like whatever that is. Don't do what that is. That's not working.
It looped around the book, huh?
Yes. And my finger, and so because I'm holding it up, it's just not, I can't get it as tight as it should be. So. And then. You're going to do a few steps here. So. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go between the previous signature and. You're gonna loop around the thread. Between the previous. 2 signatures, so you're making that loop like you had been.
So once we get through that first hole on the last
Mhm.
signature, we just go down to the next hole.
Right.
Is it-
Yep.
Okay.
So come back out.
And then you make that loop. Once you have that loop that you had been doing, you're gonna go to the book board. And you're gonna go from the outside in.
And this is where the curved needle is much more
Yes.
useful than the straight
Now
needle.
we open the phone.
Yeah, switch.
It's on this signature.
Switch back to the. Out through your second. Through the cover for the very. first
Yeah.
bit.
So you put it through a loop on outside, then you're gonna make another, then you're gonna do the loop that you had been doing. So between the book board and the signature you're sewing in, you're gonna make a loop.
Between the cover and the last signature.
Make a loop, and then you're gonna go back into that signature
The hole you came out of.
that you originally were working with.
And into the bookboard. Make another loop and then go into.
So,
Okay, so you're going to the book board this way or or from the?
From the
outside?
wait a
outside.
second. You're going a little too fast, so
Oh.
you've just come out. Now you need to attach it down here, so you're gonna go
Oh,
between.
another loop, but go to the bookboard, on your bookboard side and then into your signature.
And then for the people online, so I can get this saved and recorded. Once you pull it through. Once you're at the very end of all of your stitching, what you're gonna do is you are going to come back inside to the inside of your book board. So you're on the inside. And you're going to tie a knot, and the best way I find is you just take your needle, slip it through, and then just tie a knot.
Once you've done that
One-
entire signature.
Once you finish the signature at the very end, so you would be up here. You're just gonna tie a knot and then clip it off and you're done.
Okay,
So-
so